Yeah, and it might even mean going against what everyone says you're supposed to do, like not doing instant book. So,
Yep.
like the Swifty houses, we don't do instant book because, well, we offer something called a Swiftover, which is a sleepover, a one night sleepover for the locals. That's another one that you're not supposed to do, right? You're not supposed to have locals. Well, we do because we have 8-year-olds who want to have a Swifty sleepover for their birthday on a Tuesday night in July in the lowest of low seasons for us when it's 115 degrees out.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Hideaway Show. Today, I'm joined by the owner of Mostess Property Management. Mostess is unlike many other property management companies out there, and they definitely understand what it takes to stand out in today's world of short-term rentals. I'm joined today by Wendy Doris. Wendy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We were actually connected through Tanya Rooney, who has been on our show before. Tanya is a ball of fire. She was fun to talk to, and she made that introduction. And yeah, I was really excited to bring you on the show, and also cool that we were both in Phoenix at Level Up Your Listing, which was a fun summit. I think you probably got to do more networking than me. I was behind the counter working, check-ins and all that stuff, but it was fun to be out there, and Level Up Your Listing was a fun time for sure.
Yes, it's a good seminar, and I live here in Phoenix, so I got to host a bunch of hosting friends, including Tanya, in one of our homes that we manage. So, yeah, it's good times.
Yeah, absolutely. It sure was, and Phoenix is a lot warmer than Central Iowa this time of year, so I was more than willing to volunteer and come out in there and help. So Level Up Your Listing was fun, and I was glad we were able to connect. But well, let's dive in. So tell us and the audience a little bit more about yourself and how you got started in STRs, and we can kind of dive into Mostess Property Management and what that entails.
Sure. Yeah, I started hosting. Well, I bought my first rental when I moved to Phoenix because I'm from Cincinnati originally, and I did put a condo up in, I don't know, 2013, I think. Um, Rented it once, and I thought it was great, but back then doing Airbnbs in a town like Cincinnati, a city like Cincinnati wasn't, it wasn't vacation. It wasn't what it is now. So anyway, when I moved to Phoenix, I decided to try out one that was dedicated strictly to doing Airbnb or short-term rental. And it was being managed by a friend, and it wasn't doing very well. So I decided to take over doing the management. At the time, I was flipping houses and kind of getting burnt out from it. So I took it over and started really enjoying it and sharing my spaces with a bunch of people rather than just a flip that gets bought by one person. So I started to add a couple more and sharing that on Instagram. And then friends started asking me to do it for them. And eventually people just started hiring me to do it, even though I didn't mean to become a business. So that's how it all started. It was about 7 years ago now.
Awesome. And how many properties do you guys manage at this point?
Right now we manage 18.
Oh wow, nice. That's incredible.
Thanks.
That's awesome. And there's a lot of property management companies out there, and everyone does things a little bit differently. I was looking at some of your properties, and you can correct me if I'm wrong with this, but it seems like you guys either have some requirements in working with owners or some boundaries that you set, because I'll notice things are, photos are high quality, the design is amazing, things are unique, it's experience driven. So is that what you guys do and offer at Moses? Do you kind of work with clients that kind of fit your, I guess you could say, your client buy box per se, your owner buy box, and make sure they fit a certain criteria of what you're looking for?
Yes, we have a whole list of things that are requirements on our website, but it's very much design focused and always has been since the beginning. We might have chosen homes before because we really like the owner, but not necessarily because the property would have been very profitable. Um, and so every year we kind of tweak those requirements that will best fit where we are going. And so in the last year, we've added, I don't know, 6, 8. It's all running together now, but a bunch of really high design and themed properties. So even if a property isn't super themed, we are trying to push that a little bit, even if it's just in the name of the property and then the way we speak to the guests and giving it an identity, even if it didn't have one to start. So yes, it's to answer your question. Yes, we have requirements and we turn people away all the time. Just if they have a nice home, that's great. We're not looking for nice homes. We're looking like not a nice home that someone would want to live in, but an exciting experience someone would want to stay in and vacation in.
Yep. So you would say design and brand is very important with what you guys do at Mostess.
Highly important and
Yeah.
a requirement. And I would say something that I don't know if we specialize in, but we're kind of niching down into is that each property has its own branding. They have logos, not all of them. You know, we've had some of these houses for 4 or 5 years now, or more, but each one is getting its own identity, its own logo. It's some of them have their own social media accounts. Some of them we speak Swifty, in our messaging. It just depends on the home. So we kind of cater to each home and the experience that the guests are going to get at each home.
Gotcha. And so you're even you mentioned in the messages like speaking and communicating to the Swifties per se. So are you even adjusting some of your messaging to the guests based on the brand and design and the persona of the property itself?
Yes, yes.
That's
We're trying to carry the theme throughout the whole stay. So even
mhm.
when somebody books, we obviously, you probably guessed, we have a Swifty home. We have 2 Swifty homes, and when they book, it says, "It's time to shake it off. You're booked at Lavender Haze." So,
That is
um,
awesome.
we even do it in our responses to the reviews. Like, I can't
Wow.
even think of what some of the lyrics are now, but we'll say, "Look what you made me do. You made me blush by giving us a 5-star review," or something like that. So, yeah, we have a good time with it.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I'm curious to know like guest feedback on some of that stuff. Do you get some people that just like they don't maybe they didn't realize it was a Swiftie house? I'm sure most people do when they're staying. They know it's a Taylor Swift themed house. Do you get a lot of people that are like that love it? Do the guests eat it up? Are they, rebooking future stays because of basically the entire experience that you guys are curating?
They do love it. I mean, they speak Swifty to us anyway.
It's
Some of
its
the
own
other homes.
language, apparently.
It is. They're a whole different breed of, people and guests. They're wonderful, and so that's exciting kind of back and forth we do with those guests. It's a rare time that somebody books those houses and doesn't know that it's Swifty or that that's what they're getting. I mean, it's pretty in your face. Um, the other ones, I would say, I'm not sure if they get into the vibe as much, but we have fun doing it. So it's good for us.
And I assume they're booking those Swifty stays or Swifty properties. They're not just like when Taylor Swift is coming to town for like a concert. I'm sure if she did come to town for a concert, how better of an experience to stay at a Swifty house and then go to the Taylor Swift concert. It's a full experience, right? I assume there's just people who eat, breathe, sleep, love everything about Taylor Swift that they're just like, I need to go stay at that property because it is themed around Taylor Swift and they want to go experience that. I assume that's what you guys are seeing, correct?
Oh, yeah. Definitely for those houses that they are staying because they are obsessed,
Yeah.
and, they're booking birthday parties and bachelorette parties and even memorial services. Not services, but like, I don't I I don't know how to describe it, but, for somebody who has passed away and was a Swiftie. So, when we
Oh,
get,
wow.
yeah, 8-year-old birthday parties, 40-year-old birthday parties,
Dang.
like, the whole range. So,
So I'm curious on have those you said there's 2, correct?
yeah.
Have they always been Taylor Swift themed houses, or were they something else and then changed into Taylor Swift? I'm curious if you saw I guess the reason I'm asking is if it was something before you themed it as Taylor Swift and if you saw any sort of, like, just straight, increase.
Yes, the owner who designed it, her name's Kelly Straka, and she bought it from somebody who was operating it as a short-term rental previously. It was done. I don't know if it was necessarily themed, but you could tell it was like a bachelorette style house like you would see in Scottsdale.
Mhm.
Um, but she took it over. I mean, everything was great in the house as far as the bones of it, the furniture and all that, but she just, Swiftified it, and it's a whole different house now. I mean, it's a whole different book booking style because we've had these kind of houses in the past, bachelorette houses that are just like splashy but not a certain theme. So even I can tell like, oh, this is a different breed of animal right now. What we're hosting on the management side, on the operation side. So and then also, yeah, the income for the home has doubled.
Oh, wow. So it's very much that I mean, I know the Swifty crowd is a loyal following, so it seems like that transcends even to into a property that is themed based off Taylor Swift.
Mhm.
That is interesting. That's wow. Um, so you mentioned something before that I wanna kinda go back to a little bit. I don't know if you know this, the answer to it or not, is you mentioned some of these properties, have brands, they have logos, and they even have social accounts.
Mhm.
Um, with those properties that do have social accounts, have they seen, any sort of uptick in reservations that as a result of having that brand transcend outside of just Airbnb and VRBO itself, also having an Instagram presence? I don't know if you guys post if they also push to TikTok or YouTube Shorts or anything like that, but has there been any sort of uptick or bump in reservations as a result of that?
Well, to not to have to go back to the Swifty one, but yes, on that. That one was huge and was picked up by, um, Daily Mail and our local morning show, and, a lot of our direct bookings come from that. Um, we've had influencers and that sort of thing. Some of the other houses, we don't manage the Instagram accounts for those houses.
Mhm.
That's up to the owner, and so, I would not say that they've kept on up on them as much as one would want to do to get those kinds of results. I mean, they
Gotcha.
post, but I'm not sure that they, are getting reaping the rewards if they were really pushing it.
Mhm. Yeah. No, then that makes sense. The reason I ask is we see a lot of properties today are creating this brand outside of the OTA platforms. Everyone has always talked about like create your business off of, outside of Airbnb and VRBO. And a lot of people, it's they spin up a direct booking site and plug in a Stayfi device to their property and they're like, cool, I'm collecting emails. I got a direct booking site. I send an email once a week and that's how I push direct bookings, which is fine. There is success there. And, if you do email marketing right, you can generate reservations from it. We have just seen a significant uptick in reservations from being able to take a property, utilize high quality content, and push that out on social platforms to drive more direct bookings. So that was kind of the reason I was asking. I think that's where part of the industry is heading, where if you have an Instagram or social following as well, you can start to take some of these average or even below average occupancy properties and revenue generating properties and increase that because now you're not only tapping into an audience that's like, okay, I'm going to come stay in, for example, they already know they're going to go to Kentucky. So they go to Airbnb, VRBO, and they find a place to stay in Kentucky versus the other way around. They come to Instagram or TikTok and they come across the cabin. Oh, and by the way, it just happens to be in Kentucky. They're like, I didn't intend to go to Kentucky, but now I want to come stay at this place. I want to stay at this property. I don't care where it's at. I want to come experience that because of how it's designed, how it's branded, how it's promoted through social media. So I foresee the industry is heading that direction over the course of the next 3 to 5 years. So
I would say it's been there already for
yeah.
a long time. I have, a friend who wasn't a friend, just this pretty house that I liked in California and followed her for 5 years, and then I mean, I've never went there, it's driving distance for me, and a girls' trip came up, and I said, "Oh, I know exactly the house." And it took
Hmm.
5 years for me to get there, so that's the longevity of, and the importance of continually posting. She always posted, even if it was just moving pillows around, um, showing her thrifting finds or whatever, but I went there because I found her on Instagram, and now we're friends,
Hmm.
and we talk shop all the time, but it's a you have to build the momentum and continually do it and have the consistency of it,
Yep.
and
The
it's tiring.
consistency is huge. It is. It's one of those where, it does require consistency, and a lot of people it's difficult because the everyone hears it, but some people don't believe it, is like it takes 3 to 6 months to even start to get any sort of traction on a new account, right? Unless you have top tier high quality content with a A-frame with just insanely unique features that the account just takes off quickly. But normally those accounts take 3 to 6 months of just posting and getting, unfortunately, minimal engagement and views initially until the algorithm starts to pick it up and learns what type of content and what audience you're pushing it to. Then you'll start to see that boost and increase. So that's not to say that's everyone, but that's what we've generally seen with people who are starting to try to build those brands through social.
Yeah, I mean, I even have a list over here of like 100 posts, and not what I'm gonna post, just do it, 'cause sometimes that's what it is, it's just do something. I mean,
Yep.
I've been on Instagram for over 10 years, and there comes a time when you're just like, "I don't even know what else to say at this point.
Hmm.
What am I saying anymore?" So even for those of us that have done this for a long time and seen some results from it, I know what it takes. I just have to do it and consistently put something out there,
Hmm.
and those things that worked before don't work still. So you gotta
Right.
continually test to see what's working now.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And you got to have that call to action to basically essentially get them to take action. Not every post is a sales, call it like book now type of thing. What we've seen a huge success with is like share this, or we'll put some sort of soft call to action in there, or a call to action that says like, if you came across this cabin and had to go with the second person on your share list, would you go? And it seems like a silly thing to put on there, but what happens when you're scrolling through that post on social? You're like, "Huh, I wonder who the second person on my share list is," right? It gets the person thinking, it gets them to click the share button and they go, "Huh, yeah, I'd go with them." And it's crazy, like, we've gotten huge engagement. People would be like, "I would never go with the second person on my list. It's my mother-in-law," like, all this stuff, and it's just like, "Whoa," but then you get a lot of people that are like, "Absolutely," and they tag that person, and then that's where some of these posts have the potential to go viral because they're sharing it, they're saving it, they're commenting on it, they're liking it because you're getting them to stop, think, and take action on their phone screen to do something with it. So, it's being creative like that, and we didn't know that on our first 100, 200 posts. It was like, I saw one come across, I'm like, we always say it's like, you might go, this is the one time it's okay to steal. Steal other people's ideas. And if it's working, replicate that and do it for your own property. And if it works, it's one of those things like if it works once, test it 2 or 3 times. And if it keeps working, sprinkle that in every couple months and you'll start to see, big bumps in those posts and performance on those posts.
Definitely, and when I started my account, it was for flipping houses, and I used to be kind of crazy about it, like 2 or 3 posts a day. I mean, this is back before videos and stuff, so but I think the tactic still works. I would post 2 or 3 times a day, and they would be different posts, and I would go back into the analytics and look to see which ones, and I was always surprised which ones did better, actually.
Mm,
Obviously, back in the day before and after photos looked, I mean, they performed the best. Um, and then, like, a pretty styled shot didn't. It didn't and actually, some of the really disgusting ones of, like, this disgusting, um, I don't know, foreclosed house with a disgusting toilet did well. So,
mhm.
um, and then a lot of times when I was just being completely transparent, no makeup on, people loved that, and I was like, "Really?" But you gotta, like, keep throwing it on there and testing to see, what hits.
Yep, exactly. It just takes consistency and a willingness to I don't even know if the term is vulnerable, right? But it's a willingness to try things and in a way be vulnerable, right? Try something that you may not, be super comfortable with. And a lot of times, if it's a face on camera, typically it's well received, but it's just testing and then trying out and seeing what works. But I do think any sort of social brand or any brand outside of the OTA platforms is something that most hosts just start doing today. Are you going to see 100 bookings coming in the door? More than likely not. But what it's starting to do, it's playing the long game of curating that brand in someone's head and planting it in there. So in 5 years, when someone needs to go stay at a place, what do they remember? Oh, if I'm going to Kentucky, I'm going there, right? It just and if that happened for, you know, hundreds of people, then you have hundreds of people that are looking at this that are saying like, okay, every, 5 year, how often it is, like, I'm gonna go stay at that property. You're starting to build that brand recognition with guests, which is so important.
Yeah, and I think one thing that a lot of people get lost in is that bookings would be the only thing that we're trying to get. And yes, that's what we want. We want bookings. But I'll tell you, the last 5 people I've hired have come to me through Instagram when I've
Oh, that's
posted on there. And that's in the last 3 or 4 months. I've hired 5 people. So co-hosts and then some inspectors, and their applications and the way that they found us was they've been followers for years.
oh, wow. That's something again, I mean, even me, like, I wouldn't even thought to for that to come up, but that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, they have a good idea of what you represent and what you're trying to
Mhm.
do, and they're intrigued. So,
Yep.
um, don't forget that there's those intangibles, you know?
Hey guys, real quick, just want to jump in here and say if this show has been sparking ideas and helping you level up your short term rental game, we would be so grateful if you drop us a 5-star review. It helps us and this show reach even more people who want to build wealth through unique, unforgettable stays, just like you. So thanks for being a listener. Now, back to the show. So, one thing I wanted to mention, I noticed on your guys' site that you guys, and I loved this, was the fact that you guys give guests the option for, I don't know if it's for all properties or some of the properties, to customize it, right? To be able to curate into their own experience. Talk a little bit more about that and some of the things that you guys offer through that and how that's, has that been a success? Has it been does it appear to be a success and cost more than it makes? I'm curious to know.
So, at our concierge service, we have there's 2 layers to it. One is will offer like a charcuterie board or snack board, fill your fridge, s'mores kit, that sort of thing. So that people can arrive and just get to having fun, right? They don't want to go to the grocery store or um, Instacart will leave the food outside. It's 110 here in the summer. Like you don't want your food sitting outside. And if there's alcohol, they'll take it back if you're not there, and they come early. So that's something that's really been, something that guests have really enjoyed. Um, and then the other part is in-home vendors. These are more people that we, kind of vet and I don't know how do you say it, like, we market each other, so it's not necessarily something that we're, profiting on, but, in some cases, yes, because 'cause they'll send us some guests. Like, people are looking for bachelorette ideas, and so if they're following a certain vendor, then that vendor will recommend us. So instead of it being like a profit center, it's more like a marketing thing. So they might have decorations put in like selfie backdrops, balloon garland. I don't know. We do a lot of bachelorette parties, so things that those people want. Private chefs, massage, yoga. I mean, there is a no end in the number of vendors that people will invite. So on the management side, that's a whole nother animal that we have to regulate, but it definitely does round out their experience and makes for good photos.
Yeah, that's true. What is it like managing all of that on the vet, from a work coordinator, private chef, or someone who maybe would come and do massage or something like that? What is it like managing all of that?
Well, the guest will manage the scheduling.
Hmm.
We just manage the insurance. So, well, we don't manage it. We just tell them we need a certificate of insurance for anyone to come in and do anything. Um, However, there are some vendors because of I want to say it's a party atmosphere because it's not always the case, but there are some vendors that do create that party atmosphere at the house, and these houses are just in a neighborhood. It's not like we're in the woods. Um, so we have to ban some. We have to say no, you're not allowed. Like this vendor is not allowed, and we've lost guests because of it. because they wanna cancel because they're really stuck on having that vendor come to the home. So, part of our vetting process is who's coming to the home, um, who are you hiring, or what other guests are coming to the home, and then we need their insurance, and then sometimes, in some cases, they can't come. Um, it's just too loud, neighbors don't like it, etcetera.
So you know to manage that what because they're coming in and selecting services or providing information. Like how do you know that someone's coming? I mean, you primarily are promoting for like bachelorette parties or birthday parties or whatever that may be. So is it every guest that you're checking in with that, or is there some sort of trigger on your guys' end that you get that says like, okay, this is a bachelorette party or a birthday party or whatever?
Yeah, most of them are gonna be requesting to book. We do get instant bookings, but there are a lot of requests to book, and a lot of times they'll reach out asking questions anyway, and so we have a kind of a questionnaire. It's like 4 or 5 questions, and it's just narrowing down all the details of their stay. So, like, are you, okay with our cancellation policy? Like, we're getting that in writing that you have agreed to that. The check-in time. Um, are you inviting anybody to the house, vendors or otherwise? So we ask those questions and kind of get to know what their plans are, because there's things that aren't going to fly. We have like quiet time at 10 p.m. So I
Yep.
mean, we're in the city. We have city noise ordinance. So for instance, one of our issues right now is hibachi grill. And I didn't Hibachi's huge right now for some reason, and it might be because I don't know if something went viral, but we have a lot of people asking about that, and we don't allow it anymore because if you've ever been to a hibachi restaurant, there's big flames
Yep.
and there is a lot of screaming. Like the whole onion, what's it called, volcano, or they're throwing
Yep.
food in people's mouths, and there's lots of celebrating, screaming, and that's at 9 p.m. on a Thursday school night in a neighborhood. So we
Yep.
have to say, like, sorry, we can't do that. And,
Yeah.
then another vendor rolls around that's something else like that. So it's a constant monitoring and seeing, okay, what's the new thing?
Yep. Yeah. Which is it for hosting bachelorette parties and any party of that nature, truly trying to vet through it and, safeguarding yourself, but then also the neighbors and the neighborhood and all of that, I'm sure is a lot that's involved with that. So you mentioned you're asking these questions as the guests are coming in. Do you guys utilize any sort of rental agreement at all, or is it just simply more like in writing where that you say, do you agree or understand the cancellation policy? Yes, I do, type of thing.
We have a rental agreement for direct bookings. We don't
Hmm.
for Airbnb. But I mean, if we have these questions and they're answering them and saying, yes, I agree to your rules or whatever, I mean, that's pretty much, I mean, at least on Airbnb, they're gonna say, "Oh, well, you did agree to that." Um,
Yep.
we just don't have that many issues. I
Hmm.
don't better knock on wood, but we just don't, because I think because of the vetting process.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and a lot of our guests are like, "We're not big partiers. We're 40. We're late 30s. We're going to bed at 10."
Yeah.
So
Do you think that has to do with how you guys market your properties in a way that I don't know, not discourages the big party crowds, but people realize they're coming to stay at a nicely designed, nice place and the price it's priced accordingly for that? Or do you guys think you've just honestly gotten lucky on that front at this point?
I think
Uh,
it's go ahead.
I was gonna say I forgot to add, other than you guys asking those questions up front to kind of be that safeguard against some of the bigger parties getting through the cracks.
Yeah, I think that we are a little bit higher on the price spectrum, because the properties we have, the vetting is, I think, the key reason, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, and not allowing those vendors that are going to disrupt the neighbors. We lost a house that brought in a good amount of money because we didn't even know what one of these vendors was. It was like a pool boy vendor, and so they were like creating a lot of chaos at the houses, and we didn't even know what it was. So just kind of taking that initiative, even though the guests aren't going to like saying, no, you can't have that, I think is what's allowed us to have a decent experience with our guests. Not only that, we speak to the guests like, this is going to be your problem if the neighbor is upset, right? Like,
Mhm.
do you want the police to come to the house? We don't want your party, your not your party, but your stay to be interrupted by that, right? So like, we're just looking out for you.
Right. Yeah,
And
kinda indicate you're looking out for them, but then also some accountability on the guest side, right? Like, if this happens, like, it's one, I'm sure it's either on your dime or it's, at your expense, or you're gonna have to deal with the police coming there. I'm not gonna be driving out and handling the police on your behalf. It's just accountability from the guest staying with you. So,
yeah, and you know what? I talk about it on Instagram. I just talked about the hibachi in my stories. Like, what's going on with hibachi? Like, why is everyone loving this? And we've banned it. And one of our guests who's coming next week said, I just saw in your stories that you can't have hibachi at your houses. And I scheduled that. I didn't realize. And so they had to cancel it. But they're
oh, shit.
watching. So
Yeah.
I talk about it. I talk about the behind the scenes stuff because I think that talking about why and being transparent about it really helps. Like,
Yeah.
we're not just being the meanies. There's a reason. We've thought about everything.
Yep. Yeah. No, you guys, I mean, with 18 properties, you've went through things, you've learned things along the way. I'm sure you've learned, implemented, tweak, adjusted processes just from going through things. I think some of that stuff you don't there's not there some of the things you can't just learn through reading or consuming podcasts or books or anything like that. It's very much a like in the field, hands on, like you have to go through it or get burned once to be like, okay, never gonna do that again. That's a process, that's a system that we're going to implement within our business to ensure something like that never happens again, or minimizes the chances, I should say.
Yeah, and it might even mean going against what everyone says you're supposed to do, like not doing instant book. So,
Yep.
like the Swifty houses, we don't do instant book because, well, we offer something called a Swiftover, which is a sleepover, a one night sleepover for the locals. That's another one that you're not supposed to do, right? You're not supposed to have locals. Well, we do because we have 8-year-olds who want to have a Swifty sleepover for their birthday on a Tuesday night in July in the lowest of low seasons for us when it's 115 degrees out.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, we will host you. But we don't do instant book because we need to go through this, 5, 6 checklist for like, no, you can't have all the parents bring all the sleepover kids because they stop and they have a cocktail at the pool. Well, now we have 20 people because they're dropping off. No, you can't have every parent drop the kid off because that's 15 cars, or not 15, but 8 cars. You're only allowed to have 4. Um, and sometimes if they don't get why, like, well, what's the big deal? Everyone has birthday parties in their neighborhood. I'm like, well, we have a birthday party every day. So obviously the neighbors are going to start to get pissed off.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's over time changing our messaging. We're like really annoying about changing our messaging like almost weekly because we find, oh, we need to tweak this word to make it uh, a more attractive sounding or more reasonable sounding or what we're changing the rules because
Yep.
we're seeing this happening.
Yep. Yeah, and I think you guys are smart for that. You gotta adjust with how things are happening, and, going against the grain, I'll say at times to where people are like, "Why would you not have instant book?" It's because you know your market, you know your property, you know your location, you know all of that to where it benefits you from what you guys do to do that. So, I think it's smart on your guys' part for sure. Um, so it sounds like everything's all sunshine, rainbows, happy pup like. Everything's all sunshine, rainbows, process. You got are there things happening, I should say, that challenges that you guys have had to overcome? I don't know if it's, 1, 2, or 3, like the biggest challenges you guys have overcome that's been the biggest like learning lesson for you as a host, but then you also as a business owner.
I don't think we have a podcast long enough for this.
This is
Oh
this is
gosh.
part 1 with Wendy Doris, part 2 to come.
I don't even know where to start with that. Obviously, we just talked about big issues of changing our roles and what we accept. Um, Gosh,
You guys
you
haven't
know,
had any, like, crazy stories or something completely out of left field happen that you were just like, "Oh my gosh."
we've had a rat swim up a toilet before.
That's a new one, we could dive into that. What was the story behind that?
I had a rental in Central Phoenix that a rat swam up in the toilet, and the guest was like, "What do I do?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I think one thing I've learned as a host is to just have everybody and anyone ready to go to do whatever it is, because sometimes a rat swims up in a toilet, like city sewer. I don't know what. There's nothing wrong with this house. So then I'm calling a pest control company, and they're like, "Just tell them to flush it back down."
No, they didn't. Serious just push him down, send him down.
And then they're like, "Well, tell them to put some bleach in there and it will subdue them and then it will go down." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." So I told the guest that, and they're like, "I can't do that." So I ended up having to go and capturing it in like a Tupperware container, and I let it go on a mountain nearby. So it lived, but
Did did that one make the socials, make the story, like, taking my good friend out to be free?
no, I don't know if I put that in my stories, but it's one of my it's a good story that I like to tell. And another one would be a cat climbing down a chimney in the middle of the night at like 2 a.m. and walking its little feet all over the counters and beds while the guests are sleeping. Can you
Oh,
imagine
no.
waking up like with a cat in the room? I mean, I think the door was closed, but walking anyway,
Wow.
that, it one of the things about managing houses for people, for houses that aren't your own, is there's some things that you don't even know. Is there a chimney cap? Like, I'm not gonna ask that question as a host, or I
Right.
wouldn't even think of it, right? Well, it's got a cap now, but
I was gonna say, learn your lesson on that. And it's again, it's you can't catch everything. I think that's what as people start to, host more guests, own more properties, it doesn't matter if you have a property in, in Phoenix in the city or if you have a cabin in the woods. There are things that no one can prepare you for. That
mhm.
I always say this. These are things that they never happen at your own primary residence or house you own, but just because you've termed it a short-term rental, these crazy, wild things always seem to happen, and it's almost like a rite of passage once it does happen for you as a new host. It's like once it happens, it's almost like you're in. You are officially in this game and you've experienced it.
Oh, yeah, things that would never happen at your own home. How often does your dishwasher break? One at a short-term rental, like, they're all gonna die in the same week.
Mhm.
I think we bought the same dishwasher 4 times in the last year. Like, we
Yep.
just like, "Oh, get that same dishwasher," because they just all go out. I don't know. I would say that one of our one of our problems is we try to do too much sometimes. We take on too many projects. And then another thing we've learned over the years is just to continually add things to our process, our system, and just, "Oh, okay. Well, here's one. We have fountains at two houses now. Like, 2 owners added fountains to these houses in the last month or 2. Well, now who's gonna clean the fountain? Is a
Yep.
cleaner gonna do that? Is it the landscaper? Is it a deep clean thing? Do we have a quarterly maintenance person do it?" So, like, these things, all of a sudden, you're like, "Oh, I'm a manager of a fountain now. What do I do?" And
Mhm.
gotta put it in the system somewhere.
Yep. It's one of
So
those you'll figure out as again, that's a getting the reps in and realizing like how thinking through, okay, how am I going to manage this? And you got to talk through with the cleaners and your team to figure out who owns that part of maintaining it, cleaning it. How often do we do it? Is it like you said? Is it every turn? Is it once a quarter, twice a year? Like it's one of those you just have to. There's no manual typically for it. It's you figure it out because every property, every location is different. So I'm glad we're not the only ones over here in our properties in or in Kentucky. So it's yeah, the challenges are. I, I don't want to discourage people that get into this space, but just realize that you are owning your own business, and you're going to have to overcome some of these challenges that do come up that you just simply don't expect. So part of the business is part of the game that you're getting into. So, but I will agree, or I will admit I wouldn't change it for the world. There's times where it's like, ah, like, do I want to hang it up? Like this is a lot, but then there's the reward of having guests coming and staying at your property, leaving that 5-star review, or just leaving kind words about like, thank you so much for creating this memory or experience for me, my friends, my family, my husband and I. That right there trumps any of the challenges or issues that you start to experience. It's worth every minute of it.
Yeah, and if you feel pretty empowered too when you're able to, like, troubleshoot, I mean, the weirdest things that's ever happened, you know? Like,
Yep.
somebody gotta go get a cat, I guess. Like, who's gonna do that? Check,
As
done.
I say, love that text. Be like, hey, would you mind running by and getting the cat that snuck into our house? I don't know if it was the cleaner or you had a handyman or someone go out there and get it, but the person
Handyman.
that, yeah, seems like the right answer on that one.
Mhm, yeah.
Oh, too funny. Like you said, we could do a whole nother podcast episode on the challenges and the fun stories we've experienced in short-term rentals, but maybe a second podcast we could do could be fun. But so yeah, so with Mostess, you guys have 18 properties now. What's next for you guys? What's on the horizon, and what do you guys got coming down the pipeline? More Swifty houses?
Nope,
Maybe a
we're capped on
may-
those.
maybe a Taylor, maybe a Travis Kelsey house now. You got
No,
Taylor Swift that's growing over here. I'm a Chiefs fan, so maybe a Travis Kelsey house. Maybe not.
no,
Maybe
I'm a
not as strong
Bengals
of a
fan,
following.
so I'm a
Oh,
Bengals fan,
oh.
right?
Joe
Can't go
Burrow
there.
house. Joe
Yeah,
Burrow
there we
house.
go. Yeah, that would be a good idea. We have we have a Phoenix and Scottsdale homes, and so they're really, spring and fall season. Mostly spring is our high season. So for Mostess, we are trying to add homes in northern Arizona where the season is gonna be the opposite to kind of balance out the business. Um, so kind of working on that. And then I'm trying to buy my own, a couple, more of them. I have one right now, and I just want to add to um, my own collection, I guess. So, and we're always looking for the next awesome house that we want people to enjoy. So,
Absolutely. Sounds like you guys got a good game plan heading moving forward, and excited to hear what properties you add to your portfolio as you I guess you're eh, I like the term you used, our own little collection. It's almost like us as investors. We got our cabins, our little like collector cards of our cabins. But I'm excited to see what you land on. And are you looking at any certain area or any certain type of property?
I'm looking for a forest property. Um,
Nice.
we get really hot here, so to go an hour and a half, 2 hours north is elk and forests and 20 degrees cooler. So that's what I'm
Yep.
looking for. It's very
Nice.
selfish on my part, but I have been working on other people's properties for years now. And I just, we've been systematizing our business so much, fine tuning, adding more people to the team so that it can run really efficiently. And then so that I can do my own projects as well.
Well, there you go. You gotta look out for yourself. So and smart getting out of the heat. I couldn't I couldn't imagine 115 degrees all the time. So obviously it's not like that all the time. We were just out there and it was absolutely gorgeous there. It was like 75 degrees. I think it even rained one day, which was abnormal, but nonetheless, perfect. So we like to finish off each podcast with two questions. So the first question, Wendy, is what is your favorite book that has impacted your STR or investing career?
The most recent one and most impactful one, which I'm sure everyone says, is essentialism. I'm
I
sure a
haven't
lot of
heard
people.
of that one.
Really?
I have not. That's a new one.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, essentialism, and it's basically about getting rid of the stuff that is not essential. And I kind of felt like we were getting really bloated in our business and like having systems that duplicating things. So just getting rid of the stuff that's not necessary and making everything a lot easier to work with. So that would be the book I read earlier this year in January. It's kind of felt like spring cleaning for my business.
Yep.
So, and I like throwing things away. So just clearing out the crap. That's the one I would say has been the
I
most
love that.
impactful.
I would say I love that. The first time on this podcast, first time I've heard of it. So now I
No,
have
good.
what I love about that is now I have a book to go out and look into and read. So that's awesome. Essentialism. Perfect. And the second question, what is one thing that you know now that you wish you had known when you were 20?
I wish I knew that I liked real estate when I was 20.
Wouldn't that be nice?
No idea, like, had no idea what I was gonna do. Went to school for business management because I'll manage something someday, I guess. I didn't know what I was doing. So I wish I had understood that or knew it so I could have started earlier, but who doesn't wish they had started earlier?
Yep, exactly. It's one of those like once you realize it or you see this path of short-term rentals or real estate investing, you look at it, you're like, how did no one tell me about this before? And it's always cool to see the people that are 20 that are like, go on Bigger Pockets and they're like, yeah, I got 6 properties I've been investing since I was like 18 years old. It's just like, man, like you don't realize how far ahead you are in that space and the upside you have if you keep going on that. So I couldn't agree more.
I think I bought my first house when I was 25, and back then it was like, "Whoa, how'd you do that?" That was young back then, so I
Hmm.
couldn't imagine doing it younger than that,
Yeah,
but
yeah. It's one of those once you how we were talking about earlier today, we called it the STR bug. Once you catch that bug of short-term rentals or real estate investing, it's just you want to keep doing more, and it really is it's a fun world and fun space to be in. People are for the most part are very willing to help out, provide value, answer any questions that you have, and they're very for the most part uplifting, right? As if you have crazy wild dreams or ideas, you don't get a lot of people that are pulling you down saying no, that's a bad idea. Everyone, realizes the upside and the potential with it, and it's a very uplifting community of people. So I've loved it for the 4 years that I've been doing it. So
yeah, it's kind of young, this space.
yeah, it
Just
really is.
well, it's like, what is it gonna be like in 5 more years?
Yep, yep. I'm very excited to see where things head and what things look like in the next, 3 to 5 years. It's exciting.
Yeah, totally.
So, perfect. Well, Wendy, that is wonderful. Essentialism, that's gonna be stuck in my head all day. So I appreciate the recommendation there.
Good.
So for the listeners today, where can they find you? Where can they get in touch with you and Mostess?
Our website is mostess.host, and our Instagram is also mostess.host, so guess that's it. That's pretty
Awesome.
simple.
Yep, we'll include that in the show notes as well. So well, perfect. Wendy, I appreciate the time. There you have it. Another amazing episode of the Hideaway Show. She's Wendy Doris. I'm Jordan Holmes. Until next time, take care, everyone.